because we're going to now invite questions from the floor. So Claire, if you could spotlight the three presenters, that would be great. Thank you. And then I know that we've had a number of questions. I haven't been able to follow all of them, but thanks to Pam for keeping an eye on those for me. I can see Elliot Gann had a question about the importance of artists and practitioners. Elliot, do you want to ask your question now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was also a comment too. And I want to just say, first of all, congratulations on the amazing work that you folks are doing. It's really dope. But I want to highlight the importance of authenticity and practitioners of the culture, people who come from the culture, artists who really practice it, who have an artistic practice that they can point to and that young people can see, to really give that sense of coming from the culture. And so I'm wondering, for you folks as practitioners, you know, how important is that for you? I think I may know the answer to that, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. And then I'm also thinking about what your thoughts are about when really trying to help students, help young people. How do you feel about, like, say, non-practitioners who really have the best intentions in trying to, say, integrate it, like, you know, making drill beats or making grind beats into, you know, a math class, into the curriculum, or something like that? I'm curious about what your thoughts are on that.
Really good question. Was anyone going to go first?
I'll jump in. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we employ professional musicians, you know, to work with the young people that we work with, and they're there to be musicians. They're not there to be social workers or care coordinators, or teachers. Even they're there to walk into a room and be autonomy supportive of that young person's musical choices, whatever they are. I think where it's slightly different for us is that we don't necessarily need to pretend to be the expert in that young person's music either. You know, we go on, the whole point is that they're in control of it and they become the expert, and we make them the expert, and we go on that journey together. We have production skills and chops, and, you know, we can help with that. But it's, yeah, it's not a position of coming at it as an expert. It's going on a journey together. It's coming back to that point before about it's the journey rather than the end output for us as an organisation. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's just how it is for us.
Thanks, Simon. That's so clearly you do bring in sort of professionals and things. Colin, do you have anything to say about that?
I've forgotten the question. there were two parts. Sorry, Elliot.
So the question really is about, like, the folks who are facilitating the teaching and that kind of thing. Like, I think it's important to have folks who are practitioners and who come from the culture they're teaching. So it's not just like I can think of a colleague of mine who was studying an arts intervention in Australia, and there was, you know, a white woman who really clearly wasn't part of hip hop culture and didn't know much about it, coming in, like, teaching hip hop dance to, you know, to kids in the inner city in Australia who clearly was not a practitioner and didn't have a respectful understanding of that. And there's a spectrum in between, right? But I'm wondering about the importance of people who are artists and practitioners of the music that they're teaching or helping to facilitate, versus also people who are maybe not experts in that, but are using it to help youth, and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going to be running an Indian dance workshop, then yeah, then I'd want to bring someone in that, you know, is sort of steeped in that culture and has got that kind of background to make it authentic. I mean, you know, there's an awful lot. I'll stick on the Indian dancing. There's an awful lot of Indian dance teaching that's taught maybe in primary schools, and it's well intentioned, but it's just a little bit kind of sticky and a little bit kind of dubious in terms of what's being projected and what's actually being learned. I mean, in terms of the use of music, then I think that's where the kind of research into an artist comes in. And I really enjoy, you know, if a young person's chosen a piece of music by an artist that I've not heard of before, then I really enjoy that journey of them telling me about that artist, of doing some research, and it builds that sense of authenticity and ownership and co-learning and co-delivery. So I would never impose that upon anyone.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, do you want to say something about this, guys?
Yeah, I was going to say something on it. First of all, I think it's an amazing question. Really interesting, thought-provoking question as well. I think for us, we're still quite a relatively young organization, and we've actually made the transition from artists kind of into practitioners, youth workers and professionals. But we've actually learned that that's probably been the difference for us, and the reason why we've been able to make up so much ground in quite a short period of time, because once people do their research, or even if they don't do their research, there's a lot of people that know about us. And it's that authenticity, it's that reputation, it's that credibility that comes along with us as being, you know, ex-musicians that have worked with so many of the names today. You know, this guy sitting next to me is a super humble individual, but he's produced for people like Stormzy. So, you know, it's an amazing thing to be able to walk into a youth space and get to work with people that are from the culture, of the culture, believe in the culture, and actually part of the, you know, the formation of the foundations of the culture. And I think that's been the difference for us. So I never really thought about it until, so we're like 5 years old now in terms of our organization, until we got to like year 3, year 4, and it kept on getting drummed in our head. And in certain youth spaces, there would be practitioners delivering a similar provision to us. So in terms of the genre, but the numbers wouldn't be the same. Like the amount of young people that would come there, or the demographic of young people that would come there, wouldn't be the same. And it would be the same offering in the same studio, the same space, but just different practitioners. And they would all say, yo, where's Rapping the Slicks? Where's Rapping the Slicks? They wanted to work with us. So I do think it makes a big difference, and it is very important. Really good question. Was you going to say something about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, I do think if practitioners are kind of coming from, we don't have to come from the same walks of life, but if you understand where they're coming from, where they're going to, and how you can assist them to get there, I think it's positive, as long as you have like the good intentions and you know where they want to get and you know how they're going to get there. Basically, we work with a number of practitioners who basically the young people didn't connect with because they don't know how to connect with them. Maybe they're all the way out there from, I don't know, Windsor or Cambridge. Not saying you can't connect with kids if you're not from there, but this guy obviously didn't, and people didn't want to attend these classes, and he didn't know how to have a natural connection with them. And to him, for me, he believed that it was all about the money. So I do believe that if you do, and I think the difference with when we approach youth work is because we kind of actually been where those young people are. So if they're struggling with someone to help them with, I don't know, finance for their music video, or someone to show them how to write, or someone to get them onto a radio station, we've actually like kind of felt that as well. Been those little kids at one point to where youth workers used to help us, or a musician from our area used to maybe take us to the studio to help us. So yeah, I just think that genuine connection and having the young people's interest at heart is kind of the best way to run effective youth work.
Thanks. I appreciate everyone's thoughtful answers, and I think it's a really complex topic that I've been doing this work for 1-2 decades, and I still struggle with it myself. And just as a disclosure, I don't make drill beats, or I didn't until last week. I'm more of a boom bap producer or whatever. But I've been going to the South Bronx and working with young folks there, and they want me to make drill beats. Now I'm a beat maker through and through. I have the background and I can show my credentials as an artist and, hundreds of events I've put on, et cetera, but I'm not a drill beat maker. So I wonder if I did really make drill beats really seriously and had that skill set, could I be even more impactful? Even though I'm a very skilled facilitator and I can adapt to whatever, I wonder if that would have an even better impact and really I feel like I'm getting good buy-in, but I wonder about that just from a best practices perspective. And I'm also just wondering also about, and this is a conversation I've had with several of my colleagues who run hip hop therapy programs here in the South Bronx as well. If, what's the value of someone who's really has good intentions and is being respectful and acknowledging that they're not part of the culture, but is using that to engage and help their youth? Let's say a well-intentioned and thoughtful math teacher who's using a beat making program to teach their students multiplication, division, algebra, that kind of stuff, and making math class much more culturally responsive and interesting and engaging. And even if they're not a practitioner, that could be very impactful. But it's an interesting balance. And I would even propose we should maybe think about doing research about what is the impact of actual practitioners and artists, and how does that?
That's clear, Elliot. Thank you very much. And I think we need to move on because we're actually only going to
Thank you.
have time for one very short final question. But yeah, I just want to quickly say I think that it's wonderful that Rough Squad Arts Foundation can get or somebody like that, or indeed you two yourselves who have the expert knowledge, but not everyone everywhere can get access to the people who really know it. So it's good for people who, for example, a school music teacher like I used to be, to try to engage with areas of music that might be outside of their knowledge, I tend to think, but to also do that in a respectful way. Can I just, the only question I think that we've got any chance of answering in the tiny bit of time we've got left is one which I am quite interested in myself, which is Inca asking about what preventative measures, if you have any, do you have for tackling bullying or other potential problems? And do you find that you have to discuss about non-discrimination or safer spaces when you do your work? If you three of you could talk for up to 1 minute up to that, please. Simon first, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. So within the platform, whenever the participant logs in, they're initially shown some stuff around safeguarding and stuff, so that they know who to go and talk to immediately. The musician does a report at the end of every session that's immediately automatically communicated to whoever the referring professional is, the social worker, the care coordinator. So there's constant communication around the young person. The young person is able to report anything themselves within a platform, so nobody's gatekeeping that reporting, and that automatically gets sent to the senior leadership team. So alarms go off in the noise solution back cave whenever somebody has something of any concern that goes on. And then again, it's all held within the one platform, one place of truth, if you like, for all the data. So, you know, it'll also set up time limited processes as well that we have to follow up with all our safeguarding processes. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that, you know, the platform and the sharing with that young person's community is just within that community. We could moderate that stuff as well. We haven't had any issues in 12 years.
So you haven't had sort of big issues with that. Thank you very much. Colin, anything about that?
I mean, obviously we have safeguarding measures in place and we have a designated child protection person at the festival. But I mean, our contact with the young people really is pretty minimal. They're with us for a day. So we kind of revert to the schools and the community group's own sort of child protection, safeguarding, you know, anti-bullying measures that are in place. Not easy for me to answer because I don't see the children for too long.
You've usually got a teacher there, which would probably be taking the responsibility for that. Anything to say on this topic, guys?
Yeah, just, you know, similarly to Colin and Simon, you know, correct safeguarding measures and policies are in place. Anti-discrimination policies, trained youth workers, all of our youth workers are level 3. We've got a really, really strong kind of ethos on respect and, you know, holding that. I think one thing that's beautiful about the work we do is that when young people come to a space that we're working in, it's like there's a level of humility that's in that room because they know that everyone is actually trying something new in some way, shape or form because of the way we push them. So in some way, there isn't much work we actually have to say or do on bullying. It's something that doesn't really happen because everyone's taking risks. Everyone's trying. Everyone's in a kind of sense or at a certain level of vulnerability in one way, shape or form in the room. And I think that's what's really beautiful about, you know, the atmosphere in the room when we're working.
Great, thanks, and thanks to all three of you for being so concise in your answers there. So it's been a brilliant panel. Thanks to everyone so much.